Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the Congruity 360 YouTube channel. My name is Dan C. Bearded. This is Nick Phelps, and this is the Congruity Corner episode number 16 live stream. And today, to kick it off right away so you guys can start thinking, we're going to discuss cybersecurity buzzwords. And what do I mean by that? These are terms that just get thrown around by industry professionals, but more so people that are not in the industry, but they're posting about it, they're talking about it, and they throw terms around to essentially seem like they fit in on the conversation. To kind of give an equivalency, barbers deal with this all the time. Most people don't know barber talk, but when guys go to the barber shop for a haircut, for a beard trim, things like that, guys don't want to feel like they're out of place, so they just start throwing around terms like taper fade, give me a cleanup, give me a line up, which they don't really know what they're saying, and so it can lead to issues. So we have some preset ones today, but I would love to hear from you guys as well, is about this. And then, yeah, absolutely. Leo has a follow-up from last week for some clarification and discussion. I'm excited to go over that, but my job as the host of this show, you guys, I don't know if I officially said, but my name Dan C. Bearded. I teach beard care online and host live streams literally for a living. My job, one of the things I need to do is invite you guys to interact with this stream. If you could, really quick, it's absolutely free, but just hit a thumbs up on the video. And if you would, share this out. There's so many people that you would be shocked that are interested in learning about cybersecurity, in learning about data management, and even more so, the amount of companies that could use a company like Congruity 360 is vast. And unfortunately, this is one of those industries where people don't realize they need you until a major problem occurs. And if you can get that word out and you can help somebody that has a company and save unbelievable amounts of time and money, connecting with something like Congruity can really make that difference. So my job is to guide the conversation, be the layman to explain things that maybe not everybody understands. His job over here is to talk about his experiences. It's to look handsome, it's to smooth the crowd. If we could please welcome the ever-experienced Mr. Nick Phelps. Nick, how are you doing on the Tuesday today?
I'm, listen, saving the world one data center at a time. That's what we do.
Oh.
As per usual. No, it's great, man. The sun is out. The weather is nice. We're getting our house painted. So the guys are actually able to get some work done today because I told them before we started this process, I said, if we want to end the drought, all I have to do is sign this quote to paint our house. And if I do, it's going to rain for 2 weeks straight. There's going to be flooding. It did exactly that. It rained for about a week straight as soon as I signed a contract. So of course we got some days of clear. They're out there doing their thing. So life is good. Things are really looking up.
Of course. Yeah, and I don't know about you guys in the chat. I know it's a cliche question, but I'm always genuinely curious. What's the weather like in your area now and in the near future? For us, man, if you've felt the last couple of days and you look at the weather out for the next 10, it is screaming fall, low 70s at night, dipping into the low 50s, even high 40s. Nothing too hot, but you're not cold or even that chilly. It has been wonderful. And it's bittersweet because we put in a pool last year. So it's like, I want to get the most out of summer. We don't have a heater for it yet. That's on the save up, the wish list, the goal list. But it has kind of put the pool to a halt. But also I love fall temperatures and I was kind of over the real hot days. So it's like bittersweet on both sides. Have you guys had about the same weather, Nick?
No, we're 80 today.
Okay. All right.
We're
not, yeah.
I guess not, we're not 80, 78. I don't want to.
Okay.
Here. We're high 70s. We're not low 80s. We're high 70s. The morning was chilly though. Today was the first morning that I had that was actually like a chilly morning.
Okay. Yeah, Stuart, he lives in such an interesting ecosystem of Washington where he said it's hot, dry, and still fire season in is it the Yakima Valley in Washington?
Nailed it.
And Stuart, I just got back from a west side of the country, 12-day trip where I drove 27 hours there, 27 hours back. We did Idaho, we did the Badlands in South Dakota. We did the Grand Tetons. We did Yellowstone, and we drove all the way back. everything over there when they had like the Smoky Bear fire thing, the fire season was on extreme every single day, every day. And I can prove it because we don't have enough time for this stream to prove it, because the mountain we stayed on in Idaho, caught on fire. The first night we got there, the power went out at 11 o'clock. We had about an hour in any direction of cell service or any kind of civilization. We were literally at the top of an 11,000 foot mountain. And so, yeah, we lost power for 4 hours. The first night we were there, terrifying, and it was because the mountain was on fire and they had to turn the power off. Then the next 2 mornings we went whitewater rafting. Yep, the mountain on our side was on fire. The get out point for one of the days was where the firefighters were located, and they were having pools where they were scooping water out of the river, dumping it on the mountain. They had like the pink fire retardant that was going on. They were doing back burning to control it. Unbelievable fire experience. But the craziest, coolest thing, you guys, this is the Ponderosa Pines Forest. This would be a long shot, but do you know anything about the Ponderosa Pines, Nick?
No.
So Ponderosa Pines, you may have heard of this mechanism, but it's the tree that requires forest fires. It needs to get up to a certain level of heat for it to open up and release its seed to be able to create more trees. Wow. So they can only survive with forest fires.
Interesting.
Yeah. Ponderosa pine. Crazy.
Talk about things being the darkest before the sun rises, huh? That tree is just something that we should all kind of watch for and live by here.
Yeah, you're right. There's some kind of like phoenix and analogy in that, and rising from it.
Definitely something there. Like there's a motivational speaker out there whose cornerstone of his keynote speech is the Ponderosa Pine.
The title is Be a Ponderosa Pine, right?
Yeah, I can see it now. It's on Amazon.
Stand tall through the fire. The good days are coming. Rebirth ahead. Like, dude,
you can't experience the good without experiencing the pain of the bad.
Oh, it's there. It's there.
That's there all day.
But man, yeah, it was very dry out there, and everything was a fire risk. And so I understand. And we even had points on this mountain, terrifying drive, by the way, unbelievably terrifying. It wasn't a dirt road. It was a sand road, no rails, 11,000 feet up in the mountain. We had to, by the end, have pilot cars that would drive us down because there was so many things falling off the mountain from the fires that you couldn't go by yourself. A fireman had to drive you down as a pilot car.
Come on.
Yeah, it was pretty wicked, man. Pretty wicked. So, yeah, I could go on for a long time about the trip, but it was awesome. It was great seeing that side of the country and just the mountains, the streams, the rivers. It was just a whole different world. And it was a very interesting drive back. So we drove from Idaho straight home. We did one stop on the way. And as you're going through like Idaho and Utah and these beautiful mountains and plateaus and rock formations, then you get to Iowa, it's just farming. Then you get to like the Chicago area, and all the way to Nick, it's just concrete and cities and like industrial life. It was a very weird transition, and the more you go towards the more it is of that,
Oh yeah. Yep. That's what it is. That's all it is. I mean, you get past that certain point of, Pennsylvania, and it's once you get past the farming community Amish land of Pennsylvania, you hit Philly, and it's, the whole coast from there over is just completely loaded up.
For sure. And then, okay, we're going to hit Leo's question, and then we'll get to the topic in just a second. But first, I do want to show something. I pointed it out to Nick, and he was like, yeah, man, absolutely tell people. I thought this was pretty cool. Being that I am the host of this live stream on Congruity, unbelievable opportunity to work with them, something I'm very proud of. But I had something that was really cool that I was notified by YouTube yesterday for my channel, which Dan C. Bearded, of course. And the stats of this live stream don't even attribute to that, which is wild because it would be even more. But yesterday, I was officially notified that I am in the top 5% of all of YouTube live streams. All.
Which is insane that it's only this 30-day window too. That means that you've been cranking the past 30 days, and that's with a vacation.
Right. And the wildest thing, the wildest thing about it is there were not even any unscheduled streams or out of the ordinary streams. They were just my normal live streams, and they take into account like interactions, engagement, viewer count, stay time, and I was reflecting to Nick and just trying to talk to a safe place. And I'm like, man, YouTube is a huge platform with so many people that live stream for their full career. And to
Right.
be in the top 5% is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy.
Insane. Getting notified that you're in the top 5% of anything you do for a living is amazing. And doing it in a competitive arena like YouTube, where it's like everyone's metrics are tracked, down to the, minute detail.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. I don't think many people get to even, realize that ever happens, right? It's one of the few industries where you have the metrics to be able to show it, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's scary in some ways, but super cool in other ways. And so shout out to Congruity for trusting me with this live stream and this hosting and stuff. I do really, really love this. And shout out to YouTube, man. I absolutely love this platform. People say all the time, hey, have you thought about this place or this? I love YouTube. YouTube's been incredible. And as Nick is kind of learning along with us streaming, there's so many things we can do with this live stream, with clips, with using tags. Leo follows the transcript after every stream. So shout out to YouTube, man. Absolutely amazing. And Leo says, are these Dancy? So yep, those are just from my Dancy Bearded YouTube channel, not Congruity or any other channels I help out with, just simply Dancy Bearded live streams. I have 2 of them every week, Monday and Wednesday, 9 p.m. If anybody ever wants to tune in and check out what the beard community's like, it's just strictly from that. And then, hey, I get chances to do stuff like have this stream, which is such like a beautiful, like, juxtaposition for me, where it's on the beard side. There's very few people that have as much experience with beard care and beards in general than me in the entire world. And then on this side, there's millions of people. Yeah, millions and millions of people that have way more experience than I do. But it's the fun of learning. It's the curiosity. It's the journey that makes this such like a special live stream. So I love it. Love it.
That is super cool. Congrats again, man.
Hey, thank you.
Very cool.
I really appreciate it. Okay, so Leo, and guys, this is birthed from people commenting on the replay of the live streams. We know a lot of people watch this live stream afterwards because we get it. It's the work day, right? Even if you're like, you know what, Tuesday is my lunch day, we understand when the boss calls you in and says, hey, not today, partner. You're going to get to work. You're on vacation. It's the end of summer. Understood. Understand, guys, though, the replay is always available. One thing that I appreciate and love is that you just drop a comment. Otherwise, we have no way of telling who's watching. And so it's really cool when we get comments from Leo, when we get comments from Stuart and others afterwards, you guys. So shout out to anybody that watches the replay and then comments, or even if you don't have to comment, but thank you, guys. Leo left a comment. We responded and said, hey, we would love to bring it up on the stream. So you guys, we've always said it. You're the roadmap for the content of this stream. And when you bring up the questions, when you bring up the topics, we will do our best to fit it in. And last week, Nick, you talked about a comprehension matrix. I actually prompted you because it's something you told me about years ago when we first started working. And it really, really stuck with me. It's something I think about often. And I think it's a perspective that would benefit a lot of people that don't know it exists. So could you talk a little bit more about the comprehension matrix of thinking for Mr. Leo, our friend?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny. It started off, talk about coming full circle. This started off as a joke in a network operations center that I worked in years and years and years ago. We had a lot of fun posters where we would, create fun little sayings and then post them around on the walls of the place. It'd be, the emergency readiness process of find your helmet, prepare your helmet, put on your helmet, right? We had lots of fun stuff.
Okay.
But one of them that we came up with, my old business partner and I, was this 3-phase comprehension matrix. And we actually, based on Leo's question, I got curious and had to Google it. And the Google definition of the 3-phase comprehension matrix is very different than ours.
I did the same thing. Yeah.
So the one that you learn about on Google is the one you learn about in school probably, which is the pre-reading, during reading, and post-reading, phases of comprehension of things. We're not talking about that at all. We're talking about, we're going to call this the 3-phase comprehension confusion, or 3-phase confidence. Maybe 3-phase confidence matrix. Let's come up with a new name. So, what it is is the idea that phase one, right, exists where you don't know anything about the topic you're about to learn about, and it seems like a mountain, right? It seems overly complicated. It seems like it has more moving parts than you'll ever understand, and it probably has more to it than you'll ever be able to grasp. And then you start your journey, you learn a little bit, you know enough to be dangerous, you've solved some problems, you've done some things, and all of a sudden in your mind, you're the expert of experts, and why aren't you teaching this stuff yet? And enter phase two, which is probably and arguably the most dangerous phase of the three-step matrix here, which is you've learned enough about something to solve a lot of problems about it. You know enough to be dangerous in most people's opinion. But what it ends up doing is creates this false sense of security where you kind of oversimplify it. You say, well, it wasn't so hard to get to this point, so it can't be that complicated to know the rest. And if I know this much, there probably isn't that much left to figure out that I don't know. Right. So you go from, this is too complicated, I'll never know anything about it in phase one, to that was easy. What's next in phase two?
Yep.
And then enter phase three, which is where most of us as engineers find ourselves living for the rest of our lives, which is realizing how immensely complex the topic is that you've now learned about, and how you'll never know everything about it. And you're lucky to know what you've known and learned so far. And hold on tight, because it changes rapidly, and there's still more that you don't know than you do. And that's the healthy space for engineering. It causes you to ask questions, it causes you to be inquisitive, explore, say I don't know, and ask questions, and those sorts of things. So it's funny because it kind of just goes right back to step one if you think about it. Phase three feeds into a constantly evolving step one that then feeds back into temporary phase twos, and then right back into phase three again. So it's a never evolving cyclical process of basically not understanding something, understanding something about it, and then understanding more about it and realizing what you don't know. And that's the crux of it.
It hit me like a truck, because it almost mimics how, in myself, but how most people probably develop learning with age, right? As a late teenager in early 20s, dude, you couldn't tell me nothing. I knew everything in the world. I knew more than my parents. I knew more than everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Then I got into my 30s, and especially my mid 30s, and I'm like, oh, I thought I knew everything. But every single area I got into, I realized I just didn't know much at all. Like, as I've developed, I really get into that. And it really is like one of the most humbling experiences you can have. And I'll give it a direct example is I started working with Nick, and I started learning like building websites and making like Shopify sites. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is great. This is easy. I got this down. I'm a whiz. And then you start taking a class, and you're like, there's levels to this and layers to even things like writing an email. Like, oh, yeah, I can sit down and write an email, but then it's like, oh, there's a whole system and an approach. Oh, wow, I don't know anything. Wow. And so it is. And a couple of great comments here. Leo says, so Leo reached out, and part of the comment started with, he said, Dan, knowing that you were an educator, knowing that you have 2 master degrees, I'm surprised you didn't know this matrix. And I'm like, at least I'm honest. I'm not going to say I did. I didn't know it. And the reason I didn't know it is it was something that was made by Nick. It's not this other one that's kind of commonly used with the name. So I thought that was really interesting. And then Jack says, yeah, it sounds like the Dunning. Oh, I'm blanking
Cougar?
right now.
Probably
Yes.
Cougar?
Yes. Cougar effect.
Dunning Cougar?
And I know what this is, but I had to look it up to make sure. And this is the mental bias where people with low skill or low knowledge in a specific area overestimate their own competence.
Oh, yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, I would say these are directly related. Like the lack of self-awareness, the double curse, and then the expert doubt. Like the more you know about, chances are you're not an expert.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd say that one.
And I would say this space, cybersecurity, data management in particular, has a vast effect of this, where people think they know a lot on it and they think they're very safe and very dialed in. And my goodness gracious, are they overestimating their own competence in a massive way?
Oh, yeah.
Massive way.
Huge.
So, yeah. And then Leo, spot on. Phase 2, I know enough to be dangerous, which is a very dangerous place to live.
That is a dangerous place to live.
Don't live there.
No.
Yep. Don't live there. And Stuart says, Nick, that's absolutely true about phase 3. Engineers living there.
That's it. You do.
Yep.
Volume.
And Nick's volume. Okay.
Interesting. Should I turn? I wonder if I turn it up on the mic or hit. We're on auto mode here, Kenny. So
yeah,
we just did a little sound test.
We did several phases of it to try.
We did
Literally.
We did a multi-phase sound test
before it on multiple different recordings. That's so funny. We're trying, but phase 3 kept me refusing to be called a guru. Same, dude. Same. I have people all the time that call me a guru and stuff. I push back every time, and I don't do falsely humble. You guys have gotten to know me. I do not lack confidence. But I don't do false humble. I don't like people who are falsely like, no, I'm not a guru. I'm just a guy sharing my journey, whether it's live streams, whether it's what I'm learning with cybersecurity, whether it's beards. When someone does call themselves a guru, it's hard because you realize all of us have something that we are super niche, super in depth about, but we realize there's so much room to grow and learn. The guru tag is tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah, you better be like really, really sure you're a guru to throw around that guru title, right? I mean, especially if you're like self-proclaimed guru, then it's like, oh boy, like you better really know your stuff.
Right. Especially if it's something they can like test you on and check you on. You know, it's why oftentimes cult like relationships do well because there's nothing really to like test them or back them up on. They just get to say they're a guru of this thing, and so yeah. Absolutely wild. And again, cybersecurity in my coming and goings, because I talk to people about this, right? I'm super excited about Congruity. I love this live stream. When I talk to people, there's a lot of highly in themselves confident people about cybersecurity. It's one of the things I bring up, and they're like, oh, yeah, like, I know this and that, I do this and that, I use this and that. And I'm like, man, you're really sure on something that I talk to like very high level people about, and I'm still not sure. I'm still learning and barely figuring this out. There's a lot of gurus in this space, it seems.
You know, it's there's a lot of gurus in this space, that's for sure. That there are. You know, there's if there's one thing that the cybersecurity and just technical engineering world as a whole does not lack, it is ego. So, you know, there's a lot of it out there. It's actually, you know, we've talked about it before when Pete was on. You know, it's actually one of the big contributors to cybersecurity events is, you know, like what we talk about, right?
Yep.
It's like, I know everything. There's no chance it'll happen to me. You know, this isn't my sort of a problem, right?
Yep.
So it's ego and overconfidence. It rears its head in all sorts of ugly ways.
I love it. And again, shout out to those replay viewers out there, you guys. If you are watching the stream and something catches your attention and you want to chime in and you're not able to be in the live chat, drop a timely comment. Like when we're saying, be like, hey, on that aspect, we'd love for you guys to continue that conversation. Okay, we're going to jump in. What I have done is prepared a list of cybersecurity buzzwords that I have picked up, and there's a much more vast list than this, you guys. I had so many to choose from, but these ones stood out to me, and they stood out to me because they come up in my day-to-day conversations, my day-to-day, whether I see it online, whether I hear it at soccer practice, whether I hear it from a friend. And what I want to do is talk about the buzzword and then kind of go over what it actually means, and does it apply to Congruity? Does it apply to cybersecurity? Does it apply to data management, or is it more just a buzzword? And the reason why I bring this up, and I'll pop back here for a second, is because when I was in teaching, buzzwords drove me crazy. What not the best teachers would do is they would get into meetings, they would get into parent-teacher conferences, they'd get into interviews, and instead of showing the skill of their ability, they just throw around buzzwords that they don't actually know what it means, and it was the quickest way to get them out of there. Easiest way down an interview with someone would be like, oh yes, I have differentiation in my teaching. And then you'd press them on what differentiation is, and they wouldn't know. You know, when we would do these things, they would just throw out these terms that are hot in education right now, but it wasn't even just used properly. And so I see that all the time. Again, I know just enough to know when someone's wrong. And so I'm not at phase 3 yet. I'm at phase 2 in a humble learning way. And I know when people throw things out when they're not right, when they're not correct. So I'm going to kick them to Nick. And Nick is going to kind of talk about what these are. I'll add in where I feel like it gets used wrong. And we're just going to have kind of an open discussion. Chat, please chime in. And at the end, it is an open buzzword category for you guys to share some of the buzzwords that you hear all the time. All right. You ready for the first one, Nick?
No, I'm ready.
Okay. So first one, dark web. My goodness gracious, and I will be fully honest and transparent, I don't really know what the dark web is. I've heard it used. I've heard it in context of people selling things that are illegal, people doing illegal things, and it's from the cover of, I literally don't know, the dark web. This one I hear all the time, and the way that it gets proposed to me on the most common way is that it's the hacker's internet, the hacker internet. And with the help of AI, right? We're a show about cybersecurity and AI and all these things. We want to use these tools. It says that it's internet services intentionally hidden or accessed using specialized software. Most cybercrime does not magically happen exclusively there. What are your thoughts on the term dark web getting tossed around?
I mean, it's way overused, right? It's probably one of the most overused, buzzwords out there, right? It's, I've been hacked is probably right up there with it. And it was something about where it came from being the dark web, or someone, relating some of a security event to having its impetus from the dark web, right? The dark web's been around for 20 years or longer. 20, it's been around since, around the year 2000 was kind of the modern permutation that we see today of it, is when it kind of came into existence.
So it's young.
Yeah.
In the term. Okay.
It started with a project. It didn't really start with it was adopted, and the access to it was really kind of guarded and controlled and coordinated by a project called the Onion Router. And yeah, Jack Wolf got it right there, the Tor network, basically. And that's essentially, if you look at what the dark web has become, you can kind of use the terms, Tor and dark web somewhat interchangeably.
I've never even heard that term.
Yeah. And so Tor is the Onion Router, and you can look it up. It's called the Onion Router Project. And
okay.
what it does is it's a way of absconding the source and destination of traffic, and you can host things and do things very, very anonymously outside of the normal, internet service providers being able to see you. And the way it works is a bunch of interconnected systems. Anyone can join and host an Onion Router, node. So anyone can host a node that allows people to build and maintain and grow the Onion Router network. And so the dark web exists there. People can host a website that has any type of content on it you would want to host. That's, illegal content, whether it be people's identities or drugs or, whatever it might be. Right. There's open marketplaces for all of these things on the dark web. And so if I'm a bad actor and I've successfully compromised somebody's environment, and I have a bunch of PII data, I can go sell that, that identity information to the highest bidder on any number of sites that are open marketplaces for doing that sort of activity on the dark web. There's people that will, search for and find and broker deals with you to purchase any amount of information that you might have for sale that's valuable to them. And it's, but it's the reason I think everyone knows kind of like what's out there and what people use it for.
Right.
Those are just a couple examples. But really, if you boil it down, it's a network of privately maintained nodes or systems that maintain access to each other and other nodes in an anonymous fashion. So it really is just it's an underlying internet connected private internet.
Okay. And what two things, we'll hit Leo's question second, real quick for the people who are learning. What is a node?
So a node's just a system, a server.
Okay.
It could just be, it's a system that's maintaining connectivity to and from, the Onion network in this case.
Okay. And then Leo said, is the dark web defined by not being detected by normal crawlers or search? So yeah, it's a great question.
Correct. Yeah. The internet, the dark web does not function on normal URLs. It uses .onion, extensions. So no .coms, there's no .coms, .nets, anything like that. They all use their own extension, and they are not indexed by crawlers. Now, no, what you're actually talking about there, though, Leo, the last question with the dark web being defined by not being detected by crawlers or search, that could actually be defined as deep web. So deep web are just normal sites that are on the public internet that have removed themselves from being indexed and are private forums, private groups. Just
interesting.
And so unlisted, right, is kind of like what you'd consider deep web, right? And disconnected is what you would consider dark web, right? So you have the normal internet. You have deep web, which is just unindexed things that are on the regular public internet that have .com, .net addresses, but you just can't find them or search for them. They're not on Google. And then you have the dark web, which is completely anonymized by being, tunneled between individual nodes and providing access to a private network of systems.
Okay. And then OD says, thanks, Hollywood, for the way people talk about the dark web.
Yeah,
and then
thanks, Hollywood.
And then he said, I know exactly what he's talking about. And then those symbols when someone's hacking in a movie, they all have the same symbols on a screen.
Yeah, it is. It's all like the same like trigonometry like equations floating by. And it's like, yeah, exactly right. It's like all this crazy math. Meanwhile, it's someone like calling in, pretending to be someone with a badge they found somewhere.
Yeah. They make it seem what people think coding is. And so they're just typing in, these crazy math equations and making it look, and it's always on like a gray screen with green letters, and just a cursor that's going through. True.
Oh, yeah. Always monochrome.
So true. And then Nate brought up a story about a guy who set up a free marketplace. And then Jack said, you're talking about the Silk Road. Fun story there. I used to be a middle school ancient world history teacher. Well, the name the Silk Road of the dark web, where they obviously traded illegal drugs, was the main purpose of it, came from the actual Silk Road, which stretched all the way across Asia. It's where you found like Marco Polo. No one ever made it from one side to the other because there were all these like treacherous landscape of mountains and deserts, but you also had bandits that were going to rob you and kill you. And the main, most valuable thing in the world then, here's the craziest thing, right? Most valuable things in the world then were silk and then something else that starts with an S, salt. Two most valuable things, more valuable than gold and silver and anything, silk and salt back then. And so I'm a young teacher teaching about the Silk Road. Our students get Chromebooks at this time, one-to-one Chromebooks. I say, hey, let's do a project, you guys, on the Silk Road.
Oh, no. You got some phone calls.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You got some phone calls on that one.
Those search results of the Silk Road, of having 30 kids all at once typing into Google the Silk Road. When did the Silk Road start? Tell me fun facts about the Silk Road.
Oh, boy. Nice work.
goodness gracious. Young history teacher trying to make it and just do a good thing. And then the Silk Road has to come and mess it all up. Well, we all learned. We learned. So
That's
wake up.
You're a teacher, and your job was to open young minds to new concepts. And there you go.
Yep.
Mission accomplished.
That did happen, and that is true. Yes, that is true. So, yes. Woo! Okay, that's so great. Good. I learned, I've never heard of the deep web, but that makes sense. On YouTube, we have the ability to have public videos, scheduled videos, private videos, and unlisted videos, which is what you were talking about on those sites, where if we make this stream unlisted afterwards, if you have the link, you can still watch it, but you can't find it elsewhere. You can't Google it. You can't go to this page. And so that kind of sounds like what the deep web is.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's getting a laugh at my. I got some good teaching stories in the bag, but the Silk Road project was definitely one of them. One of my other favorites was I was teaching. This is my first year teaching geography. And I got to teaching about this country, and I'm talking about their exports, and I'm talking about how Chernobyl impacted them and all this stuff. And I'm like, guys, go home and talk to your parents about this stuff. Like, have family conversations. And kid came back. He goes, hey, Mr. Command, my dad's like a world traveler for work, and he said you pronounced the country wrong. I'm like, oh, there's many countries you can pronounce in multiple ways. It's just like accent and preference and being accurate, like Qatar and Qatar. He was like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. He said that it's pronounced Belarus, not Belarus. And I'm like, that makes a lot more sense. That flows way better. And I'm like, holy crap. It really is Belarus, isn't it? Oh my gosh. I had never heard of Belarus in my life as a 22-year-old new teacher, And so that was a nice little wake-up call where it was like from literally that day forward, I was like, okay, I can't fake it. Like, I need to just be real with these kids. If I don't know something, I'm going to tell them to look it up and teach me. And my first year, we learned together.
That's the only way to do it.
Yep.
We definitely had different childhoods. I knew exactly what and where Belarus was by the time I was in my 20s.
I had no idea. Absolutely no idea.
On very different parts of the internet.
Okay. Yes, that would check out. Yep.
That's it.
That would check out.
Yeah.
All right. Dark web. Love it. Literally more than I could have ever hoped for on a discussion here. So perfect. All right. Next one. At its base, hacker. You kind of mentioned like being hacked and all these things. To me, again, as I'm learning, I'm finding out that this is one of the most misused buzzwords imaginable.
Oh, yeah.
And anybody committing a cybercrime of any kind is thrown around as a hacker. It's just literally how people use it. Now, the terminology here is broad term for someone who explores, manipulates technology. There are ethical hackers, researchers, criminals, hobbyists. What's your take on what a hacker is, Nick? And then especially for you in your day-to-day basis, how do you hear it being misused? Or is it not? Is it something that seems pretty accurate across society?
I mean, so I think it's not accurate in some senses where people look at criminals that engage in any sort of activity that takes place over a digital device as a hacker.
Yes.
Right. I would break that up into much broader categories like con artist and all sorts of other nefarious roles that someone can have in the non-digital world. Forget just being in the digital world, right? And so I think that's a big distinction to make is that like it says here, a hacker, you look at like modern terms. I think some modern kind of like, you look at some of like these kind of, new ways of using the word hacker, I think are actually clarifying it a little more. They're helping, not hurting for once.
I agree.
Which is like biohacker, life hacker, all this other stuff, right? Like those things, that kind of, those speak to the exploratory side of what a hacker is, right? It's someone, like it says here, someone who explores and researches, someone who tries to take things apart and make them do something different than they did before and put them back together. Any amount of that in the physical world, right, is hacking. And so really, I think in the terms that most people use it, though, it's fairly accurate. You look at, hackers are in the news for, doing hacktivist activities, right?
Right.
Where you got that term hacktivist out there where someone is,
Anonymous. Yeah.
like anonymous. Exactly. Right. Like someone's doing something for a purpose to prove a point and to help move forward a movement or an effort of some sort.
Okay.
Purpose. So, you look at kind of how it's changed. Yeah. Look at you, beard hacker.
Right.
Boom. It's like, you teach people how to do, grow a better beard. That's, and you've figured it out. That's you're a beard hacker.
So this one's kind of evolved with the
it
times.
Very much has evolved. And I think it's always meant that, because what are you doing when you is someone who breaks into a computer system without authorized access a hacker? Absolutely. I'm not, we're not going against that at all. But I think the term's much more broad today. And I think it is way overused. I think a lot of people get credited as being hackers who are just con artists.
Right.
You see,
and that's what I was getting at.
You see these scams out there that are taking people's money with phishing emails and people doing things with these automated phone calls and trying to misrepresent themselves as being the billing department for someone that you buy things from. Those aren't hackers. Those are con artists, and they've existed outside of the computer world forever. Let's not credit those people and give them bigger egos and call them hackers.
Spot on where I'm at, because your grandma clicking an email, she did not get hacked. Nobody went in and was like, I'm going for you and I am doing this. But that is how people phrase it, right? Everyone in our life has had someone say, my Facebook was hacked. No, nobody went to your Facebook and tried to break through and stuff. You just clicked a mass message that was looked like a reel, but it wasn't, Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
You click the bad password reset link. That's it is what it is. And Stuart's dead on here. I mean, the job of most engineers, especially someone in the cybersecurity space, is to hack things. It's like you have to hack your way through just about everything you do. Because a lot of, and the reason I say that isn't because we're doing what the movies show people doing in hacking, right? It's because we're hacking our way through something in those terms. We're trying to solve a problem that has no documented way of being solved. When you're trying to solve an unknown, seemingly unsolvable problem, and you're trying things that aren't documented, that aren't what the thing you're doing is supposed to do, that's hacking. Right? Yeah.
And nice. Leo says Steve Jobs and Wozniak, didn't they start by hacking long distance phone service? Interesting.
I won't pretend to know.
I don't either.
But there's some of those stories are a bit before my time, unfortunately, Leo, and I just have to go based on what people tell me. And unfortunately, they've all changed so many times about
it. Yeah, they've grown.
Those origin stories have a funny way of mutating over the years.
All right, and they say it's called phreaking?
Yeah, phone hacking.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. And then Nate is so true. The last thing on hacking is when celebrities say the wrong thing on Twitter, they magically were hacked. When they had a tweet that didn't play well in public, they were hacked. They got hacked, you guys.
Oh, and Stuart with his multicolored boxes. Yeah. So this is my one admission to guilt that I'll do on this live stream, Stuart. I was the proud owner of a red box in high school that I made from a greeting card. And it was, I was so very, very proud of myself. And just, for everyone who's, not in the know here from having the anarchist cookbook or something like it when you were a teenager, is a red box was back in the day when there was payphones. There was these things that had handles on them and you had to put, never mind. Anyway, so there was these things, and when you'd put a quarter or a coin of any kind, a quarter most importantly, into a payphone, if you listened on the headset, it had beeps, it had tones. So when you put in a quarter, it would make a couple of these DTMF tones that you would get. And that was the payphone actually audibly telling the switchboard that you've put a quarter into the payphone and you are now able to make a phone call.
Okay.
So that's how remote phone switches that were analog back in the day knew that they were allowed to open a circuit and allow you to dial a phone number from a payphone. but they were giving you a dial tone first, and then you could enter numbers and nothing would happen. But after you put in a quarter, all of a sudden, magically, with no way of digital communication to a switch, you were authorized at that point to make a phone call. It was the tones that the phone receiver actually made back to the phone switch.
So
you could record those tones.
Whoa.
And you could play them back to the phone, and you could make free phone calls. And so back in the day, if you were cool, you had some little device in your backpack, in your little kit, that would just let you make phone calls. And so that was, on top of being able to use them for data connections and those sorts of fun things back in the day. But that was, Leo or Stuart, we were on the same page there.
Yep. Very different childhoods continued. I was throwing balls around. You're hacking into phones. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It was all for the purposes of research and exploration.
Yes.
Right, Stuart?
Yes. Yes, Stuart. Right? Right, Stuart?
Right.
All right. The next two are combined because it's essentially the same thing. But I will hear literally all the time something is hack proof or unhackable. We talked about recently, I have people tell me Apple products all the time are unhackable. They're hack proof. And again, they can't be breached. It's the same kind of problem. And then in reality, it says it's basically meaningless. No complex system can reasonably be guaranteed to be immune from compromise. Huge red flag if somebody seriously uses this term. When you hear that, if somebody says, oh yeah, that's hack proof or unhackable, what comes to mind to you?
They just have not seen enough things.
Okay.
They have not.
They level 2? Are they on level 2, Nick?
They're on level 2.
Okay.
They're on phase 2 of the cybersecurity comprehension matrix. Which that's absolutely where they are. There's no such thing as hack proof, right? I mean, there's hackathons that have proved that over and over and over again. I think OD mentioned something about it. I didn't catch it before it went away, but there was there's hackathons the large companies host where if you make something as a large company and you think it's unhackable or you think it's hack proof, then you have hackathons, which is where
fun.
You give a bounty to the ability to basically hack your way into something. I mean, there's some big ones out there too. There's a place called Hack the Box that's an education company, and they do certifications for for cybersecurity. But they host hackathons as well with some big prizes and there's $1 million cash prizes on some of these bounties. Where if you have someone out there doing a bug hunt or a hackathon for a platform, some of those can get up there. I've seen some crazy ones, but no. Those things have proven that nothing is hack proof, nothing is unhackable. We see that now. Look at what we've been using for bank grade encryption now for the past however many years. 30 years. We've been relying on AES 256, and we in post quantum cryptography has showed us that we've talked about this before, that quantum computers have made those old encryption algorithms insecure, or they will. And so just something that used to be unbreakable, it would take every computer in the world 100 years to crack the code, is all the things we've heard all these years. And now all of a sudden quantum computers can solve that same problem in 10 minutes instead of every computer in the world for 100 years. Right.
Yep.
And so those things are now not secure. So that even the things that we think are unhackable have proven that over time become very, very hackable.
Yeah.
If a person can't hack their way into something that's supposedly hack proof, there's one thing that can, and that's time.
Yep. Time is a steamroller, Leo says. Right there.
Leo, literally right at the exact same wavelength there.
And Jack, we talked about this. You are spot on. He said, what makes Mac and Linux less likely to be hacked is they aren't as popular, so hackers don't target them as often. They're still just as hackable. That was Nick's exact answer when I prompted that question. He said it's a numbers game. Yeah, he goes, if you look at the market share, if you look worldwide, like there are more Samsungs in the world than there are Apple iPhones. And so why would they spend time on a smaller market share? You're exactly right. But people don't, like, in layman's term, in normal society, they don't say that step. They just say that you are less likely to have your iPhone hacked, and then they translate it as you can't hack an iPhone. So yeah, yep, absolutely. Beautiful. I love this. This is so fun.
This is
all right.
a good one.
Cyber attack, again, kind of a similar thing here, right? With the hacker, but something weird happened to the computer is what people, yeah, if anything happens to the computer, it's a cyber attack, no matter what, it's a cyber attack. And then an intentional attempt to compromise confidentiality, integrity, or availability of system data. For me, the biggest word in here is the intentional. Yeah. Those intentional attacks is a cyber attack, not just something that happens.
Well, and I also think there's something different, when you got to make the distinction between the act and the result. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I think, there's a data breach, right? Data's been compromised, data's been breached, identities have been stolen, right? Those are all results from either a cyber attack, an internal coordinated exfiltration of data, right? There's a number of things. So is a coordinated internal exfiltration of data by a paid bad actor? Is that considered a cyber attack, right? And I think, a cyber attack probably defines itself pretty closely to what we have here, which is, an intentional attack against digital systems. And so I do think the word intentional is very important there for sure. Yeah. And I also think, people, throw around like buzzwords even now about the type of attack. People throw around DOS attack, right? Like denial of service attack. Everyone's heard that.
I think that might be on here. If I didn't, I was going to put it on there because the same thing. Yeah, that gets thrown around all the time.
Exactly. As soon as someone pops up on down detector, it must have been a denial of service attack, and so I think there's 100 things that are probably more likely than a distributed, DOS attack or a DOS attack itself. Is I think there's probably much more likely stuff out there. But again, it's one of those things where it's made it in the news enough. Someone goes down. It was a hacker. It was definitely a DOS attack as part of a cyber attack on something that was supposedly unhackable, and it came from the dark web.
And the tools were from the dark web. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, we'll string them all together here and just make the world's most obnoxious headline when we're done.
But it's so real. Like that really happened. Yes. All right. Another one that I've been hearing more and more lately, and again, this is the perfect example, like you just said, the different types of attack. People say that when they want to have like a next level, like not only a cyber attack, I know the specific kind. Same thing here, end-to-end encryption. And people will say the data's encrypted, right? You can't break into this. You can't understand this data. But specifically means only the communicating endpoints should be able to decrypt the content, not intermediate servers, providers. Right. So that is saying, I send something to you. Mm-hmm. You as the end are the only person whose device will encrypt this and make it able to be read.
Yep. Yeah. You have a public key that you give me, and you have a private key you use to encrypt your stuff.
Okay.
And you encrypt your stuff using that private key, and it is jumbled, encrypted, non-legible or visible to anybody until it gets to my device, and I use the key that you've given me to then decrypt that data.
Okay.
So it's our two devices, my phone and your phone. Like if we were using WhatsApp or something like that, for example, right? My device would encrypt it and your device would decrypt it. No one in between without the keys would be able to decrypt it.
Okay.
And where that's different is where you look at carrier encryption, or if a service provider provides encryption to your connection.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what does that mean? And so that means that from you send something, I send something again from me to you.
Yep.
And we send it through a service that happens to be a secure encrypted messaging service, but it's not end-to-end encryption. Right. What that means is the first place on that provider's network that I hit, they encrypt our communications. And then when it gets to the last place that it can hit before it goes to you, then they decrypt it and send it to you. The difference there, of course, being that the last mile of communication, your provider, your ISP, anyone else who's watching that has access to the network, they can see our traffic, they can see our message. So end to end is just device to device.
Okay, good. And by far not the most misused one so far, so that's good. And Leo says, unfortunately, using words not understood isn't limited to cyber things. Leo, that's, again, my teaching background and how it was used. That's what kind of prompted this idea today. It is used everywhere. Yep, absolutely everywhere.
Yep.
Okay, military-grade encryption. Basically unhackable. And so it says mostly marketing language. What matters is the actual encryption algorithm, implementation, key management, and configuration. Is there any, what do you think of when it's military grade encryption? Is there something more to that, or is it just a really good system?
These days, no. These days, that's marketing. Okay. Yeah, it's everyone, your bank, everyone, the login to the HTTPS connection that you use to log into your kids' online school portfolios. That's using military grade encryption. It's
marketing.
Right. Basically, what happened is there was a bunch of less secure encryption algorithms that were out there for quite a while. There was DES and triple DES and so many of them.
Okay.
And what ended up happening is the federal government and the military, they would pick and select and only use the highest. Whenever you're going down through a drop down list of what do you want to use to encrypt this, there's always, it starts at the lowest and ends at the most complex. And there used to be computational overhead impacts for these selections, right? It used to be you picked a really good encryption algorithm, and it would require more, horsepower to be able to send the communications using that encryption.
Okay.
Now, again, I think being as we're carrying around devices in our pockets that equal rooms full of computers, now you can use the 256, the 512, whatever version of an encryption, protocol you want. And your device is going to have no problem with it. So military grade, bank grade, all of those things, they're all one and the same today. And modern. Just about all of them are military grade at this point.
Okay. I think we have two more cyber speed here. That's fast. Blockchain. This is people throwing around with crypto, with data centers. Nick, and again, it's a super secure database. What is, in layman's terms, what is a blockchain?
Well, so a blockchain is definitively more than a 2-minute conversation.
Okay.
No,
fair.
Blockchain, it's an immutable database that's decentralized, and it's a ledger. So it's like any ledger. Typically, when you have a computer system, the system itself that you're putting data, where you're storing data, is what keeps track of what data is there, who put it there, and who has rights and access to it. The difference with blockchain is that everyone that's a member of the blockchain network has a copy of the same ledger. So there isn't any one part of the data that has one reference to the data that can be changed. So therefore they call it immutable. So you can't change, you can't change something about the decentralized ledger without all of the other nodes that maintain the ledger agreeing that change is valid.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's basically a way of coming to, a common opinion that a change to a data structure is valid from more than just one point of control. So it's defined as a decentralized ledger.
Perfect. Sounds useful, of course.
Yeah.
All right. And I believe last one. Yes. All right. Machine learning. This is the one that's tossed around a lot right now. I get to be in live streams of communities that are not tech-based, and there is a massive fear, a massive push, and the one recently seems to be machine learning, that these AI systems are teaching themselves. Now, a lot of it seems far-fetched and exaggerated and ignorant, but I don't know where the line is. What it says here is algorithms identify patterns from data. That does not necessarily mean autonomous learning or intelligence. What do you make of that?
Well, A language model like a Claude or an OpenAI or a Chat GPT or something like that, like a large language model, an LLM learning things and adapting is not an example of machine learning. That is
because we have to feed it, right?
Well, that is an example of a machine learning.
Oh,
but that's not an example of machine learning as
grammar.
Right. So machine learning has existed for a long time, and it's a very logic-based, rigid way of expanding a data model and letting machines learn more and extrapolate and learn about the points around data that they're studying without having to be told necessarily that data is there. And so and that's one example, right? Of machine learning. Whereas language models, are not deterministic. They're non-deterministic language models. They're able to, create and generate things, right? Machine learning is not capable of those things. Machine learning is very much, in most cases, a deterministic framework where machine learning, for example, is used quite a bit in what we do with data tagging and classification at Congruity. It's not necessarily that there is a language model inside of our platforms that's doing that data tagging and learning things, but we are learning about the data and changing the way we tag it based on data points that we ingest.
Okay.
So that is a form of machine learning.
That makes sense. Awesome. What a list, man. I could do this all day. If you guys
that was a good list.
Have other buzzwords that you want discussed, leave a comment on this video afterwards, and maybe we'll make a part 2. We have a week next week where we're going to have a topic, and then we have a really special guest the following week, which we're very excited about. But we are actually over time right now, so this is free bonus time, even though the normal time is free too. Before you guys leave, could you just make sure you hit that thumbs up for this incredible content, this community that we're building here with Congruity? It is greatly appreciated. Same time, same place next week. Nick, any last words for all the awesome people out there in the Congruity Corner community?
Oh man, say that 5 times fast. No, this was fantastic. Keep the good topics coming. I love it. I hope to be introducing some topics for next week. Some good stuff around the corner to talk about, and can't wait for our guests coming up. So all good here, man. See you guys next Tuesday.
All right, guys, have a great week ahead. We'll talk to you.